What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Monday. Today, we got 5 games for picks against the spread, and we're going to have an Anfernee Simons conversation, all right? The stream's going live a little bit late. Actually, we got 6 games for picks against the spread. We've already picked one. Chat's already picked one before the stream went live. And we got no time to waste as games are about to start. So let's take a look at the picks against the spread standings. Chat, congratulations. You guys are now in first place. The games behind column is a little messed up. You guys are 2 games ahead of Trevin. You guys are 6 games ahead of Eric, 6.5 ahead of Crushables. This was a wild day overall. Eric goes 0-8. 0-8. That's why he's 6 games back. Meanwhile, Brendan goes 8-0. Brendan and Eric are only separated by 2.5 games. They were 10.5 games away from each other going into last Thursday. This is what I mean by anything can change. It's still anybody's race because, oh my goodness, did we have a wild day on Thursday. Collectively, 47 and 57. We could have, if Eric went 8-0 instead of 0-8, we could have been above 500 collectively. We're 19 games under 500. I guess we would be 3 games below 500. But yeah, those are the standings. Just a wild day. Congrats to chat. You guys are in first place. It looks like Groupthink wins out. Now, the first game was Minnesota and Washington. And Washington, or Minnesota was the pick for chat and myself. I'm not going to go through all the picks. They have been all logged and recorded in our Discord. The first game we will pick on stream is New York hosting Detroit. New York is 8-point favorites. The poll says 7.5. I mean, it's basically the same thing. Okay, 8 points is a push. So we're going to do an 8-point spread. That's what's on the graphic. An 8-point spread. So it would be a push if it's an 8-point New York win. All right. Arrow is in here so he can record that. Also, if somebody can share the pics from the chat, that would be great. I'm going to send the images to those who have made their picks already. It's been a hectic day for me, man. Big work day for me, but happy to finally sit down with you guys and pick today's games and then discuss Anfernee Simons' play as of late, as he has been phenomenal. I'll get the injuries for this game. It's a light injury report. Actually, they're in chat. Out for the Pistons, Jaden Ivey. Out for the Knicks is Mitchell Robinson. All right, and then, yeah, we'll get the picks from the chat, and we'll pick this game. I'm going with Detroit. I'm a Pistons believer. All right, and then the picks from chat. We got Knicks for Jackson. Yeah, and Arrow, if you're able to send in the picks, or somebody, if they can send in the picks in our group chat, in our mod chat, that would be great. That would be easier. Make it easier on me, man. Make it easier. These streams have gotten tougher over the years. But still very enjoyable nonetheless. We got Brendan going Pistons. By the way, the Blazers play tomorrow at home. We'll have a post game for that going live around 9:30. Arrow says he's still scrambling to record picks. Can another mod please share the picks from the chat? That would be greatly appreciated because it would speed this thing up a lot. Or you can record the picks after if that works. I don't know what you want to do, but all right, we got Knicks for Javon. We got Pistons for Brendan. I already said that. Yeah, shout out to Brendan. 8-0. Best day of the entire season. Best day of the entire season. Chat, we got 22 votes on this poll. Shout out to chat. 22 votes on the poll. They're going Pistons. All right, I guess I'll pull up Discord. And record the picks. All right, we got Knicks for Crushables. We got Knicks for Stephen Vaughn. We got Knicks for... I sent 2 Crushables screenshots. Let me send a proper one for 503. So Knicks for 503 as well. We got Pistons for Connor. Pistons for Brendan. I already said that. Trevin Pistons. Eric is Knicks. We need Zach and Arrow. And my cat's in here. Arrow, where's your pick, man? Okay, there we go. Knicks. Zach is Knicks as well. This is going to be his double down. So Knicks for Zach, Knicks for Arrow. Chat, as I said, went Pistons. So this is a 7v6 in favor of the New York Knicks. All right. Next game. Toronto hosting Golden State. Golden State 4.5 point road favorites. Out for the Warriors, Brandon Podziemski, Gary Payton II, a.k.a. GP2 Weeks, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green. Out for the Raptors, Emmanuel Quickly. We trust chat not to look at the score of this game as it just started, but it should still be early enough to not even matter. Maybe that's why chat has the lead. That's what I'm going to say. It's because of the late games. All right, awesome. We got my guy Jackson helping in the live chat with the picks. Appreciate it, Jackson. All righty. I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors. We got Warriors for Eric, Brendan Condor. We got Warriors. Warriors is Brendan's double down. All right, Jackson is Raptors. It's also Arrow's double down. Or maybe that was the last game, I don't know. Javon says Raptors with a question mark. All right, yes, you are going Raptors. I will answer that for you. Raptors for Trevin, Crushables 503, and Steven. Did my cat leave the closet? Yeah, it's back there. I see it. So what did Zach go? What did Zach go? We need Zach and Arrow. Alright, chat. Why did the chat poll end, man? This is a mess. This is a mess today. It wasn't even the right spread line. It's 4.5. 4.5. There we go. A 0-point chat poll. Chat, you get an automatic L for that. There you go. I meant to unpin the message, and I think I ended the poll instead. So that was my bad. My bad. Arrow is Zach and Arrow are Raptors. Alrighty. And then chat will get yours, and then we'll move on. Right now, heavy favorites on the Raptors. Chat, it's pretty 50-50, but they're going with the Golden State Warriors. 8v5 in favor of the Raptors. All right, game number 3. We got 3 games left. This game is a rematch of a game that we had last Thursday when we picked games. It's Houston hosting Memphis this time. Last time it was Memphis hosting Houston. Houston is a 2.5-point home favorite. Houston won that last game. Injuries for this game. Out for the Memphis Grizzlies, Cam Spencer, Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams Jr., and Marcus Smart. Out for the Rockets, Jabari Smith and Tari Eason. You know what? That last game I went Memphis, and it didn't work out for me. So I'm going to go Memphis again. We got Rockets for Brendan and Jackson. Chat, do you miss Eric? How badly do you miss Eric? Let me know in the live chat. We got Grizzlies for Javon. Rockets for Arrow, Zach, Eric, Brendan. Whoa. All right. Eric, Zach, Brendan, Arrow, Connor, Steven. All right. Lots of Rockets, man. Lots of Rockets. We're going to end the chat. Well, chat's going with me. It's the Grizzlies, and I think this would be their double down as of now. Grizzlies for Trevin and Crushables. And we need 503. Let's see. 503. Damn. I keep sending the wrong screenshot for 503. That's crazy. There we go. All right. 503 is going with the Warriors. Nope, that was last game. 503 is going with the Rockets. Out of sorts today. That's my Monday. Hopefully you guys are having a better Monday. All right, we got an 8v5 in favor of the Houston Rockets. Game number 4. We got the Los Angeles Lakers hosting the San Antonio Spurs, and the Lakers are 3.5-point home favorites. Only one player on the injury report for the Spurs. That is Jeremy Sohan. He is questionable. All right, and then out for the Lakers, Christian Wood, Jared Vanderbilt, and Jalen Hood-Schifino. Questionable is Bronny James due to an illness, and probable is LeBron James and Anthony Davis. All right, 503's picks are in the Discord now. We are good to go there. Chat, your poll is in the chat. This is a tough game to pick. Tough game to pick. All right, and then 503's game on the graphic was supposed to be Warriors, so this was actually a 7v6 in favor of the Raptors. Back to game number 4. We got Eric going with the Lake Show, his Los Angeles Lakers. We got Arrow and Connor and Trevin going with the Spurs. I hate this game. Brendan is Lakers. 503 is Spurs. I'm going to go Lakers. Jackson is Lakers. Chat is Spurs, a whopping 75% of the vote. It was in the 80s. Still, a large portion of the vote for chat for the Spurs. All right. And then we had Crushables going Lakers. We had Zach going Lakers. We had Steven, don't know what. Javon went Spurs. It's a pretty even vote. Right now, 6v6, and we need Steven's pick in the chat. Steven is the Spurs. He's the deciding vote, making this a 7v6 in favor of the San Antonio Spurs. Got some split votes today. We love that. Final game of the day, we got the Los Angeles Clippers hosting the Miami Heat. And the Clippers are 7-point home favorites. Out for the Heat, Drew Smith, Josh Richardson, and of course Jimmy Butler. And then questionable is Bam Adebayo. Out for the Clippers is PJ Tucker. Chat, there is your poll. I am going to go with the home team, the Los Angeles Clippers. And it looks like we got a lot of Clippers in the chat. Couple of Heats. All right, we got Brendan and Trevin going with the Heats. We got Clippers for Crush 503. Clippers for Eric and Arrow. I'm going to go Clippers. Clippers for Jackson. Clippers for Javon. All right, we got Steven going Clippers. Just need Zach. And Connor. And then we're on to double downs, and then we're good. Where's Zach and Connor's picks? Oh, Connor's right there. Clippers, and then where's Zach's? Zach is Clippers as well. Chat is Heat, 58% of the vote. I'm a little surprised by that. Normally, chat does not go against the grain this much. But they're a part of a 3v10. The favorite here is the Clippers. All right, time for double downs. I'm going to double down on the Clippers, I guess. Need your double downs from earlier games. Chat's double down, it looks like, is going to be the Spurs. Javon is Grizzlies. I just watched it back like the first time we ever did this, where it was just me and Eric putting in our picks, and that was it. The graphics were kind of crap, but I was proud of them because it was like the first picks against the spread graphics. It's pretty trippy, man. Jackson is doubling down on the Rockets again, just like last time. They served him well last time. We'll see if they can serve him well again. He's going to go against Javon here. We got Trevin going with the New York Knicks. All right, we got Knicks for Zach. And we got Eric going with his Los Angeles Lakers. .503 going with the Spurs. Brendan, Warriors. Steven, double down already on the Raptors. Daniel Schomburg, what does your question mean? Arrow went with the Knicks. What is the context behind your question? We got two more. We got Connor and Crushables. Connor went Rockets, and Crushables already went with the Wizards. All right, that concludes picks against the spreads. Picks against the spreads. I guess it could be called that. We got 3 people for the Knicks. That's the favorite double down of the day. We got Arrow, Zach, and Trevin. We got Jackson and Connor, 2 on the Rockets. And then we got 503 in chat, 2 people on the Spurs. And then everybody else is for themselves. I'm Clippers. Eric's the other LA team. Javon is Memphis. Brendan, Golden State. Steven, Raptors. Crushables, Wizards. That concludes picks against the spread. Thank you for your participation. Now we have a quick conversation about Anfernee Simons. All right, that's the topic for today's stream. And I wanted to have a conversation about Anfernee Simons because he has been playing phenomenal lately. He's been making more threes than anybody at like a 48% clip over his last 10 games. I believe he has 39 made threes in that time span. And it's phenomenal, man. He really struggled to start the year, and now he's on a hot streak. He's probably always going to have some level of inconsistency given the shot diet that he takes. But man, it really begs the question, what do the Blazers do? What do the Blazers do with Anfernee Simons? You got Scoot Henderson, you got Shaedon Sharpe, maybe you add a Dylan Harper or a Kasparas Yakuchonis to the mix. What do you do, right? Even if you don't add a guard, does it make sense to give Scoot the keys and see how that works? Shaedon Sharpe, obviously going to keep starting at the shooting guard position. I think the calculation with Anfernee Simons obviously comes down to his trade value on the open market. Is there a team out there that's desperate for scoring that wants to add a player like him? Now, the problem is it's easier to find a guard that can score than a guard that can defend at a really high level. And a lot of teams would love to find a two-way guard and would rather add a two-way guard than an Anfernee Simons. But on the season, his numbers are looking better, and it is a little bit easier for Joe Cronin to pitch other teams on the value that Anfernee Simons could bring their basketball team. On the season, Anfernee Simons averaging 19 points, 5 assists, 2.7 rebounds, shooting 43% from the field and 36.5% from three, a whopping 91% from the free throw line, true shooting percentage of 56.1%, which is not that great, but almost on par with his efficiency last year, which is impressive given that he couldn't do anything the first month to month and a half of the season. Like, he could not make shots. His efficiency was in the tank. It was garbage. Now it's right back up to last year. That just shows how hot he's been as of late and how many shots he's made as of late. Now, you don't want to get caught up in the hot streak and think that this is normal. It is definitely a hot streak. He's having as hot of a hot streak the past 10 games as he did a cold streak the first month and a half of the season. It averages out to about what he was last year. His career true shooting percentage is 56.6%. Like I said, on the season right now, it's 56.1%. So he's right in line with his career averages. It is a pretty big dip and then a pretty big peak that we're experiencing right now, but it is fun to watch him make shots. And the Blazers offense has actually been around average lately due to his shot making. At the end of the day, though, where are you going? What is your plan? Does he fit on a team that contends one day? Is his presence here in Portland affecting Scoot Henderson's development? And then what if you draft a guard? There's so many questions around Anfernee Simons. I think at the end of the day, I would be shocked if he gets traded at this upcoming trade deadline. I think it's far more likely that he gets dealt this offseason if he can finish strong, and also, of course, depending on what happens this offseason. If the Blazers draft a guard, I could see them have an easier time accepting a less than stellar trade package for Anfernee Simons to make sure they had enough minutes to go around between Scoot, Sharpe, and whatever guard that they draft. But until that happens, it's really hard to say what is going to happen with Anfernee Simons. Would I be shocked if he's on the Blazers next year? No. I honestly expect him to be on the Blazers next year if they don't draft a guard. Now, Anfernee Simons should not change the Blazers' calculation on whether or not they do draft a guard. If you're sitting there at 3 and you think Yakuchonis is the best player on the board, then you take Yakuchonis. You don't say no to somebody that you think might be a future star because you have somebody like Anfernee Simons who sometimes looks like a star, but is very unlikely to consistently achieve a stardom level of play. At the end of the day, the Blazers probably are not going to get back as much as they would hope for Anfernee Simons, as much as Simons fans would hope. Of course, Simons has a lot of haters in this fan base, a lot of Blazer fans that would trade him for second-round picks at this point if it just meant getting rid of him. But of course, if you're in Portland's position, you want as many assets as possible. But the problem is it just doesn't come down to an asset equation. There's more variables to this. Just like there's variables to my cat sniffing the door. There's more variables to this equation for the Portland Trail Blazers. It's not just what assets you get back. Of course, that is a big part of the equation, but it's also some of the factors that I just discussed. It's, do you need to clear a runway for Scoot? Will that help his development? Is Ant getting in his way and hurting his development? Right? Also, Ant's contract is going to expire at some point. Does he really want to stay here? What happens when he's an expiring contract? Like, are you worried about him leaving? Then how much can you get for him? How much is he discounted, right? And there's other equations to that. There's other things to that equation, I meant to say. So at the end of the day, I don't think Anfernee Simons is going to get traded this season, but the offseason, I think that's when you'll really see the peak of his trade rumors and the potential that the Blazers could trade him. We've seen Cronin kick the can down the road before. I wouldn't be shocked if the Blazers come out of nowhere and pull off a trade where they include Anfernee Simons' matching salary and maybe a couple of assets and get a, star forward or a close to star forward. Like, would I be shocked if they traded Anfernee Simons for Brandon Ingram? Not really. That kind of feels like a Blazery thing to do. Now, I would not want that. I think Brandon Ingram probably leaves in free agency. I don't have faith in him actually re-signing with the Portland Trail Blazers. He's an expiring contract right now. So that's why I would not do that trade. But maybe you see something similar where the Blazers use Anfernee Simons and an asset to get a player they like at a forward spot to clear the path for the guards, especially this offseason if they draft a guard. Who that forward might be, I don't know. I don't think there's many forwards on the trade market that really fit the billing. I think Brandon Ingram is the most clear example, but maybe there's other guys. And no, the Blazers are not going to trade for Jimmy Butler, and they should not trade for Jimmy Butler, right? So realistic targets maybe the Blazers would flip him for Cam Johnson, and maybe the Nets would have some interest in that. They just traded Dennis Schroeder. But would they really want an Anfernee Simons and Cam Thomas backcourt defensively? That's pretty rough. But the Blazers have had interest in Cam Johnson in the past and need shooting, especially if they trade Anfernee Simons. I think if Anfernee Simons is traded this year's deadline, it's more likely to be in that type of trade than just selling him for a pick and a young player. But, of course, anything is possible. Anything is possible. So let me know your thoughts on the chat. Cam Weaver says, what's the realistic threshold for pulling the trigger on a Simons trade for you, Tori? I think like a first-round pick and a small asset, whether it's a second or a young player that you like. I think much more than that is asking for too much. I think less than that is just kind of like, what's the point in not waiting until the offseason? It's just hard to really establish a trigger to pull on an Anfernee Simons trade just because I don't think he has great trade value. So you're kind of just, no pun intended, biting the bullet there. Aeromancer says John Gambadaro, otherwise known as Gambo in the Suns community, mentioned that in addition to Nick Richards, the Suns are interested in Duop Reath from the Blazers. If you can get back a couple, I don't know what Phoenix has, but like if you can get back a couple seconds for Duop Reath, obviously you do that in a heartbeat. I don't think they trade Oso or Ryan Dunn for him, and none of their other role players really make sense for the Blazers. So you're really just looking at a couple second-round picks. That's it. And I don't really see why they would want Duop Reath. I mean, yeah, he's a floor-spacing center. They don't have that, but their defense is atrocious. And Duop Reath just hurts that even more. So as a third-string center that could step in and play some minutes if somebody gets injured, let's say they have Mason, Plumlee, Nick Richards, and Duop Reath is their third-string center that they like, is somebody that can provide them a change of pace with a stretch five off the bench and then at least has a skill that you feel comfortable with if you have to play him if one of those centers above him gets injured, then yeah, I guess that could make some sense for the Suns. And you're just looking at a second-round pick or two, although I think they might only have one tradable second. 1 or 2. They don't have many seconds, so I don't really know how that works. Elizabeth Allen, I don't know what that means, but Gambo is pretty well respected in that community. It seems like he has some intel. Yeah, so I don't know. He's pretty well respected, though, in that community, so if you want to discredit him, fine. But I do think Duop could make a little bit of sense for him, and is the type of salary it makes sense. And if you're the Blazers, why wouldn't you talk to teams about Duop? So if the Suns are trying to talk to the Blazers, I don't really see why the Blazers would not talk back. He's your fourth string center right now. He barely plays. He's a second-year player, but he's like, 28? He was an older rookie. So it doesn't really make sense for the Blazers not to entertain those conversations if the Suns are interested in having them. Anyway, we will talk more about the trade deadline on post-game shows leading up to the trade deadline. To finish this conversation I'm having with chat, Elizabeth Allen says he's talking about for taking Nurkic. That's why they can make a 3-team trade work where they trade Nurkic to Charlotte, get back Nick Richards and another salary, and have money left over to absorb Duop. So it's probably in conjunction with a Nurkic trade to another team, not for Nurkic. Which is then when the Blazers would get those seconds. So that's basically what it'd have to be, unless they were willing to trade out a role player there is like a Damian Lee. Like maybe the Blazers would take Damian Lee in a couple of the seconds for Duop. That's also possible. So Kim Weave says, hope we get a few seconds for Delano Banton as well. I highly doubt that. It would be a struggle to get back much more than you give up for him. I just think the conclusion to Delano Banton is he's a throw-in in a trade or he gets cut down the line. I highly doubt the Blazers will just straight up sell him for something, but I could be wrong. And if you could get a few seconds for Delano Banton, I'd take that at this point. Anyway, yeah, like I said, we'll talk about future trades. We'll talk about trades, trade ideas, trade rumors, everything trade related on future postgame shows. The next postgame show is coming up on Tuesday. That's tomorrow. Going live at about 9:30 p.m. Pacific time after the Blazers take on the Brooklyn Nets. We'll also have a mock draft on that postgame show. Arrow should be joining us for that with myself and Eric. So a 3-person mock draft. Hoop Intellect just dropped his second big board of the season. So looking forward to watching that after the stream. And we'll try and go through all 60 picks. So that should be fun. So hopefully you can join us over on the main channel for that stream. Thank you for hanging out on the second channel. Thank you for participating in Picks Against the Spread. Thank you for supporting this channel. You can hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to this channel yet. And we are out of here. Look forward to talking to you all tomorrow night on that postgame show. And until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.